Everyone looks so serious.
Good evening, everyone. We're waiting on just a few more to arrive. Good evening, everyone. We're waiting on just a few more to arrive. Molly, can you hear me okay?
Yes. Good.
Am I on a delay?
You are on Facebook.
Someone may need to mute their second device.
Everyone is here, Madam President.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Reynoldsburg City Council meeting to order. Today is March 22nd, and the time is 6:33 p.m. I am Council President Angie Jenkins. This meeting is being held virtually and live streamed on the City of Reynoldsburg Government Facebook page. At this time, I'd like to have the Pledge of Allegiance, and that will be provided by the Reynoldsburg Lady Raiders basketball team, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening.
Madam President, I don't see anyone representing that group this evening. Do you want to hold off on that in case they connect here in a bit and move forward with the agenda?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
Next, we'll have the roll call. Molly, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Baker? I know he was here.
I'm here.
Okay. Councilmember Bryant?
Here.
Councilmember Strickland?
Present.
Councilmember Salvati?
Here.
Councilmember Pecoro?
Here.
Councilmember Lawson Rowe?
Here,
Councilmember Cotner?
Here.
And President Jenkins.
Here. Next, we'll have the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? Seeing none, the agenda is approved as submitted.
Madam President,
Next, we'll have the approval. Yes,
there actually is a change to the agenda. On it, it had a presentation from Assistant Fire Chief Kraus of the West Licking County Joint Fire District. That has been moved to the first meeting. So that needs to be taken off the agenda.
yes, thank you very much. Are there any other changes to the agenda this evening? Seeing none, the agenda will stand as approved and submitted. Next, we'll have the approval of minutes. The approval of the City Council regular meeting minutes of March 8th, 2021. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to those minutes? Seeing none, the minutes stand approved as submitted. Next, we'll have community comments. The community comments portion of the meeting is an opportunity for citizens to address council. Citizens may bring matters to the attention of city council or discuss items on the agenda. The council president will invite speakers to be recognized and give their name and address. All remarks should be addressed to the council as a whole and not exceed 3 minutes. Do we have any comments from the community in council chambers this evening?
No, Madam President, we don't, but I did receive one email comment that I'd like to read.
Okay,
This comment is from Susan Williamson. I would like to volunteer to work with council and other local officials to tackle the litter problem here in Reynoldsburg. I plan on researching other city programs that have been successful, and then I would like to implement those programs here. Picking up litter or not throwing it on the ground in the first place is so simple to do, and it makes a huge difference. I would like people to notice how clean and nice Reynoldsburg is. It's so disheartening to see people blatantly trash the environment, and I think a lot can be done to help the problem. I would also like to announce that on April 3rd, we will have a group cleanup effort at the location that we have yet to decide on. Someone suggested Civic Park, and I also noticed a lot of trash off Rose Hill between Main and Broad along the creek and around the restaurants on 256 and Taylor Square Drive. April 3rd at 10 a.m. will be the date and time, and we will post more details on Facebook. I also want to share that I have a Facebook group of like-minded people called Plocking the Bird. The term plocking comes from a group of joggers in Sweden who started picking litter while jogging. Plogging, and I just changed it to picking litter while walking, plocking. And of course, the Berg is for Reynoldsburg. I would love more city officials to join the page and interact because I really do think we could make a big difference. If we put our minds together and get creative, I am passionate about keeping our earth clean and healthy. It is our home, and I know a lot of people feel the same way I do, but we may need that help from city officials to make things happen. I would be completely fine if that could be read into the record. And I really do want to work with all of you to make this happen. Madam President, we also
did
have,
you mention what Facebook page that's from?
yes, I believe it's the Facebook page is Plocking, Plakking, Berg. Madam President.
Thank you.
We have 4 guests on Zoom with us this evening that would like to make comments. Oops. Let me start with Susan, is it Colbert or Colbert?
It's Colbert.
Okay, and following you, Ms. Colbert will be Ms. Watson. So go right ahead.
Thank you very much. Good evening, City Council President Jenkins and members of the Reynoldsburg City Council. My name is Susan Colbert. I live at 2799 Shadwell Drive. I have lived in Reynoldsburg, Ohio for the past 4 years and have found it to be a great place to live. It is accessible to shops, schools, recreation centers, my church, and much more. Housing is affordable. Residents look out for one another, and I feel very safe in my neighborhood. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in favor of the ordinance to protect people from discrimination based on source of income. This ordinance, sponsored by Councilwoman Strickland, is critical to the residents of Reynoldsburg. The passing of this ordinance will afford residents of various incomes an opportunity to live in a diverse and inclusive community like Reynoldsburg. It is a place where people have access to safe, decent, and affordable housing, as well as access to living wage employment, healthcare, transportation, businesses, and quality schools. Unfortunately, if this ordinance is not passed, senior citizens, veterans, disabled, and low-income families who receive child support, alimony, or housing choice vouchers, who desire the same as you and I, will not be able to live in our community and enjoy the basic necessities as we do. We all want and deserve the same basic needs: a safe place to live and an opportunity to succeed with dignity, with hope, and with grace. Towards this end, I implore you to seriously consider passing this ordinance in order to alleviate the barriers and help children, youth, and families succeed and thrive. In conclusion, I would like to acknowledge and thank the members of the Reynoldsburg City Council, and especially Councilwoman Strickland, for all of your work towards supporting this important initiative and for giving me an opportunity to share my concerns. Thank you and have a good evening.
All right, Ms. Yvonne Watson is next, followed by Jillian Olinger.
All right. Good evening, everyone. To the Honorable Mayor Begney, Madam President Jenkins, excuse me, Councilmember Strickland, Councilmember Salvati, Councilmember Peccarel, Councilmember Lawson Rowe, Representative Cotner, Representative Baker, and Representative Bryant. I wish to thank all of you for the opportunity to offer comments during today's City Council meeting. My name is Dr. Yvonne Watson, and I serve as the founder and executive director of the Tutoring Tenacity Center, located at 1296 Bryce Road in Reynoldsburg, Ohio. The purpose of my comments today is to introduce the Tutoring Tenacity Center to the City Council as a whole, as well as provide an update on current operations, successes, and future opportunities. I am an educator, and I've spent the last 20 years working in higher education as an administrator and adjunct professor. Much of my work has been devoted to helping those who have experienced some vicissitude in life and needed assistance pursuing education as a way to better themselves. I started tutoring children in grades kindergarten through 5th grade in the year 2013, when I learned that a child in my Sunday school class had been suspended from school and was only in the 2nd grade. As each of you may know, this child's behavioral challenges were a direct result of his academic challenges. I started tutoring this young child and helping him through his behavioral issues by interacting with his teachers, attending parent-teacher conferences, and providing regular feedback to his parents. From that experience, the For My Wish Foundation was birthed. The WISH acronym meaning stands for my well-being, interest, safety, and happiness, and we are doing business as Tutoring Tenacity. Our mission is to cultivate skills and behaviors that promote learning success by providing customized academic assistance in a supportive learning environment. The For My Wish Foundation is governed by a 10-member advisory board that meets on a quarterly basis to discuss operations, successes, and opportunities, and key indicators such as how do we help students prepare for proficiency tests? How do we help students who are falling behind? In what ways can we help those we serve with student achievement, meaning their motivation to learn? How can we incentivize reduced discipline referrals? What is the best way to incentivize attendance rates? And what are ways that we can keep our costs low and affordable? Fast forward to July 2020, I was able to acquire dedicated space for tutoring services. Since July 2020, we have provided tutoring services for over 80 students, in which 75% are enrolled in Reynoldsburg schools. Our chief focus is math tutoring, reading tutoring, including spelling, vocabulary, and comprehension assistance, and also writing for students in kindergarten through 5th grade. However, since July 2021, we have expanded services to include all grade levels. The Tutoring Tenacity program provides year-round flexible hours, regular feedback on academic performance, homework assistance, custom tailored academic assistance as well. The team recently started a kindergarten prep program at the request of our parents, which is an individualized program designed to help children prepare for kindergarten readiness assessments and an opportunity to prepare for first grade, depending on the time of enrollment. I will say that the For My Wish Foundation team is thoroughly enjoying this journey of helping our children achieve academic success. I still believe that it takes a village to raise a child. To each of you, we pledge our commitment to Reynoldsburg in helping our students achieve academic success. I welcome each of you to stop by the center anytime and learn about the intricate details associated with our operations. I believe you will be pleasantly surprised with the work that's taking place at Tutoring Tenacity. I will close by saying this: we need your help. In order to keep our costs low, we are working diligently to reach out to individuals to support our tutoring endeavors. We rely on donations from our benevolent community members and businesses, as our programs are not subsidized at this time. This plea has become crucial for us because we just started experiencing children who come to the center but are also hungry. So the advisory board will convene within the next 2 weeks to discuss how
Ms.
best to
Watson.
address this need while simultaneously providing tutoring services. Again, thank you all for your time today. Thank you especially to Mayor Begany and Councilmember Meredith Lawson Rowe for encouraging me to come to the City Council meeting. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Olinger.
Yes, good evening, City Council President Jenkins and members of the Reynoldsburg City Council. Thank you for this opportunity to speak in support of the ordinance to protect people from discrimination based on their source of income. My name is Jillian Olinger, and I serve as the Chief Mission Officer for YWCA Columbus, on whose behalf I am speaking tonight. The mission of YWCA Columbus is to eliminate racism, empower women, and support peace, justice, freedom, and dignity for all. Among other services, we provide housing to women and families in need and support those transitioning from emergency housing to more stable options. Given our mission and the programs we deliver, addressing racism in the housing system is a core part of our advocacy. And we know housing justice is a regional issue and not one that an individual community alone can adequately address. Due to historical and ongoing housing discrimination, Black and Indigenous people face significant barriers in our housing market. Considering that a disproportionate number of unhoused people are Black or Indigenous female heads of household, voucher rejection means fewer housing options for already marginalized people. Though we do not know just how widespread the issue of voucher rejection is locally, in cities without laws protecting tenants, denial rates can soar as high as 80%. This leads to a severely restricted market for those who need stable housing, and ultimately could lead to homelessness or to longer stays in programs like the ones that we deliver at YWCA. Cities that have enacted laws around this, however, see denial rates around 15%. According to analysis done for the Regional Housing Study by MORPSI, the city of Reynoldsburg struggles with both limited availability of low-income housing options, as well as housing competition. And these two issues combined make it very difficult for applicants with vouchers or other forms of subsidy or support to find housing that fits their needs in their community of choice. Passing this legislation means opening up housing closer to places of employment, and this is a necessary step towards not only housing justice, but also economic and financial equity as well. In our region, we have a mismatch between where affordable housing is located and where job growth is concentrated. Earlier this month, the City of Columbus passed the Housing for All legislative package, which contained a series of ordinances, including source of income protection. The cities of Bexley and Westerville have also recently passed their own SOI ordinances. We encourage other communities in the region to enact this legislation as well, so we can open the housing market, expand housing choice, and facilitate rehousing of our own clients with a greater success rate. We hope to work with our regional partners to eliminate barriers to progressing the well-being of our most vulnerable and establishing policies for a region where all can thrive. Thank you.
You are all welcome to remain as part of the meeting, or you may leave at any time. Thank you. That's all the people making comments, President Jenkins.
Thank you. Do we have any comments from council this evening? Mayor Begany, do you have any comments this evening?
Just a brief comment, Madam President, members of council. As you know, just over a week ago, President Biden has signed the stimulus package for the America Recoveries Act, and a number of dollars are earmarked for the city of Reynoldsburg. We are going to investigate what we can and cannot spend it on, similar to what had gone on during the time with the CARES Act dollars. As soon as I have more information on that, we will discuss certain agendas about what we're looking to do with those funds within the parameters that the government lays out for us. As soon as I have more information on that, I will let you know. But I did want you to be aware that that is out there for us. With that, I have no comments until I introduce the next groups.
Okay, thank you for that information. You can go ahead with the presentations with the groups that you have this evening.
All right. Again, Madam President, members of council, and everyone watching at home, we have established basically through this council a couple of community commissions. And for the first time tonight, you're going to actually hear what they've been up to these last few months. We are going to start off with our Arts and Beautification Commission. Ruvain Curlin is going to go ahead and join in with that one. They have been given a time limit. So if you see me playing some orchestra music as we approach that 7 to 10 minute mark, just be aware that we may be cutting Ruvain off, but we'll see how it goes. But they've got a lot of good things to share with us. And with that, I will turn it over to Ruvain.
Very much, Mr. Mayor. Thank you to the council for having me join you tonight. Our committee has been charged with two important tasks. Number one, increasing the visibility and partnering with various groups to enhance the arts, both visual and performance based arts in the city of Reynoldsburg, as well as beautification. So that includes cleanup and branding, enhancing our visibility in our area. Over the past few months, we've had a number of meetings, and we've had a handful of potential programs come out of that, and I wanted to share those with you tonight. The first is art installations and city presence. We discussed that we would like to work with council, with potential grant givers to bring various art and visibility to public spaces in Reynoldsburg. We've used the city of Whitehall and Dublin, Gahanna for some of those types of branding ideas, and we think what they're doing is particularly compelling. Our major focus is paying attention to the City of Respect motif. The tomato is awesome, and we certainly want to incorporate that into some of our ideas, but we looked at everything from lower cost options, partnering with schools and with the children there, all the way through more sophisticated art pieces. But ultimately, our idea was to reinforce positive change. So earlier was mentioned litter pickup, and we're going to get to another program regarding that shortly. But litter pickup, clean water, community respect, those types of things that are so important to Reynoldsburg residents. We've also discussed, possibly incorporating bees and butterflies and caterpillars and sort of those types of natural designs to, educate people on how those types of parts of our environment assist people and how we are all sort of interconnected with that. The next section that we discussed was a Taste of Reynoldsburg concept of a reboot with that. We've officially been reconnected with the Chamber of Commerce, and we hope to partner with them next year, or the next time that program can be reignited. We've discussed having low-key music, jazz bands, big band type music along with that, and ticketed transactions to limit cash handling, not only in the idea of COVID, but also with food handling and that type of thing, and of course a tapas size serving, small drink samples. So it's just sort of a fun way for the community to reacquaint itself with the local businesses that are based in Reynoldsburg, because we think that that's an important connection as well. The Tomato Festival, Mayor Begany has joined in all of our groups to keep us updated. We've shared some ideas as far as offerings for primary and secondary acts on the various stages, as well as offerings for diversity in the acts, whether it's specific communities offering a dance troupe or poetry or that type of thing. So we've although we haven't been on the forefront of that, we've certainly sort of been in the background offering some suggestions to move forward to the Tomato Festival committee. Regarding litter and cleanup and beautification, Councilwoman Lawson Rowe approached us as a private citizen and made a really great request of our committee. She proposed that we do sort of neighborhood micro cleanups, and that would help jumpstart certain areas of the city in a smaller fashion, not necessarily all on Litter Hero Cleanup Day, but in a way that can directly impact small pockets of the city, and then hopefully create a type of chain reaction where that section of the city will continue, once it's got kind of a fresh slate, to continue working toward keeping their area cleaned up and beautiful. So our committee took that a step further, and now we charge the council with joining us and having each council member take their section of the city and partner with us to do these micro cleanups and to pilot this program. Members of our community would, of course, join with you and members of your neighborhoods, and we've discussed various ways that we can work with the city to streamline the ultimate garbage cleanup and that type of thing. A safety maintenance issue, it kind of goes along with the beautification. Of course, we'd like to see recoding and sort of tidying up of the light posts and other surfaces in especially the Main Street area to freshen their look. And then during the Main Street remodel, it was mentioned that there possibly be a barrier that protects some of the Main Street businesses, such as Prost and other businesses in that area, from oncoming traffic and potential future traffic incidents. But we also recognize that whatever that barrier is should have a sort of beauty to it and be integrated into the space. So our committee requests that we can have some conversations with the council and with the people involved in that committee to help streamline the beautification of that area. And that's what I have for tonight.
Thank you very much, Ruvain. This committee has been very active. They not only have their regular monthly meeting, but they also have a number of individual committee meetings that are specific to their particular group. And they've come up with some very good ideas when it comes to art. As some of you may or may not know, I have very little artistic talent whatsoever. Stick figure is about the best that I've got it, and no one wants me to sing anytime soon. So this group has been very good about getting some of those ideas out there. So if you have further questions or comments, I'm sure he can answer, or if you want to reach out to him at a later time, that would be acceptable as well. In the meantime, we also will now be moving on to our Welcoming and Diversity Committee. Tatiana Bodashevsky is going to go ahead and update us on our Welcoming and Diversity group, who's done a phenomenal job of bringing a new perspective to a lot of different things here in the city of Reynoldsburg. And with that, I will turn it over to Tatiana.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam President Jenkins, City Council members, Mayor Begany. This time around, I am presenting on behalf of the Welcoming and Diversity Committee, as the mayor said. But before I talk about our projects and our plans, I would like to read a statement that our committee has written regarding some current events in our nation. So here it is. We, the members of the Reynoldsburg Welcoming and Diversity Committee, would like to address the recent violence against and ongoing perception of our Asian American brothers and sisters. Tragically, there have been intentional and increasingly tragic targeting of Asian Americans. This is social, cultural, emotional, and physical violence against the Asian community. We in the Welcoming and Diversity Committee abhor and condemn such behavior against any race or nationality in our community, state, and nation. Reynoldsburg is a city identified as a city of respect, and we agree with this identification. We urge all citizens in the city of Reynoldsburg to demonstrate in thoughts, words, and actions a dignified respect for all in our very diverse population. But especially today, we urge this for our Asian American citizens as they are currently being targeted. May the city of Reynoldsburg and its residents embrace and demonstrate a respectful, dignified respect for our Asian American citizens and neighbors. Okay, and Miss Molly told me that it is okay that I share a PowerPoint that we have prepared. So if you can just give me a second to go to, I hope you can see this.
Hang on 1 second. Okay. Okay, you're good.
All right, okay. Maybe I should go to slideshow like that. Maybe, I don't know.
Did you hit share screen first?
Yeah.
On Zoom, and then you can pull up your.
You can't see it?
No. Yeah, if you go to share screen, select your PowerPoint, and then in the corner, hit share. That should bring it up. There you go.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Okay. So it has been an absolute honor and so much fun to work with a wonderful group of people that are so passionate about helping and keep our city as welcoming as it should be and recognize the importance of diversity. We have put together a mission statement as it follows. Our vision is to be a city where all people are welcome, regardless of their background, origin, race, gender, sexual orientation, religion, and language. Our vision is to offer support and encourage everyone to be contributing members of our community and to be respectful and celebrate everyone's uniqueness and diversity. These are the members of our committee. And as Mayor Begany continues to remind everyone during his shows and other events, anyone who is still interested in joining us, you're more than welcome to. We have been meeting monthly with our group, and we have come up with many ideas and many projects, but due to COVID, we were limited on what all we can do in our city, but here are some of the things that we did up to date. Last month, Black History Month, during the 12 o'clock show with Mayor Joe, the mayor shared our statement celebrating Black History Month. Last month was also a Random Acts of Kindness month, and during one of the weeks, ETSS, the nonprofit organization that works with refugees and immigrants, donated a bunch of PPE bags, and they were all distributed to the local businesses that are mentioned here in the slide. And this month has been especially fun for us. We were so grateful that the mayor had agreed to put a spotlight on some of our many great women in our community. And he also shared our statement during his first show, the first Wednesday of this month. So we thank you for that, Mayor Joe. Projects that are forthcoming, we have actually been working with this for a while on the welcome packets and the culturally inclusive calendar. And this is a collaborative work with the city. We want to make sure that cultural celebrations and acknowledgements are also included in our community's calendar that everyone can see. We have been discussing participation at city events. So for an example, we will have our own booth during the Tomato Festival and any other events that the city will have. We will have quarterly meetings / open houses with the mayor. These will be in different places quarterly, and we will discuss different topics, and everyone in the city will be encouraged to come and participate. And we acknowledge that June is going to be a very, very busy month and a lot to celebrate. And one of the celebrations that we would like to include this year is celebration of World's Refugee Day. And we were talking about purchasing flags that we will just put to the ground in front of City Hall. And we are just excited to see that happen. Our schools are full of, well, our city is full of residents that are from everywhere around the world. There are 77 languages that are spoken within the district. So you can only imagine how colorful and beautiful the lawn is going to be in front of the City Hall when this happens. And we are aware of the Juneteenth celebration that Councilwoman Lawson Rowe did last year, and we would like to get together with Councilwoman and help with the celebration. So we invite Councilwoman Lawson Rowe and whoever else wants to participate in this to make this as grand as possible. And I think I am done.
Thank you, Tatiana. Thank you, Ruvain, both of you for coming in. For members of council, again, you're more than welcome to ask questions if you have any. The next meeting in April, we'll have our other two commissions, starting off with our very efficient Military Recognition Committee, followed by everyone's favorite, the Traffic and Transportation Committee. That is definitely one of the ones that has the most attendance and conversation pieces about. But again, this is something that was done at the behest of council, and I wanted to make sure that you knew that they were doing something more. And this only represents really a very small amount of the work that these groups have put in over this time. For a volunteer committee to take a few hours of their time every couple of weeks to address issues that they see in the community that maybe I don't get a chance to see, or maybe members of council don't necessarily get to see, to improve communication all the way throughout the community. So I do thank them for their time and their effort. I'll turn it over for questions for a few moments, and if nothing, then Tatiana and Ruvain are more than welcome to go ahead and make their escape. All right. Thank you very much, Madam President. I return the floor to you.
Thank you. Do we have any other community comments at this time? I have a comment that I'd like to make, and I'd like to thank Director Bill Dorman and also Superintendent Keith Koontz. Today was a big day for Molly Drive in Reynoldsburg. There has been some flooding in this area for a number of years, and today they started the process of trying to fix that problem. So I know my neighbors on Molly Drive are very excited when they saw the city trucks pull up and the bulldozers and all the equipment. It's a very exciting day for them because they were starting to fear that the rain was coming and didn't know if we were going to have floods. So I want to thank them for working on this project. Even during, COVID, things were kind of put on hold. And so today was the day, and I'm sure my neighbors are very excited that this process is starting. So I just wanted to thank them both for all their hard work for this project. And with that, we'll move on to our motions.
Madam.
Okay.
Madam President, I'm sorry about that.
Councilwoman Lawson Rowe.
This is Councilwoman Strickland. Yes.
Yes.
So I also want to bring it to everyone's attention that When I first started running for office back in 2019, knocking on some of my residents' doors, there was one particular house that had an issue, had been vacant for many, many years. And I am happy to report that while working with Attorney Shook and also Director Dorman, we were able to put a great legislation forth, the vacant property legislation forth last year, and was able to clean up this vacant house that had been sitting for years and years. And so I want to call them out and thank them for a wonderful job that they did. And the fact that now this house is up for sale. And, you know, it was about the good legislation that passed last year. So we can clean up these vacant lots, commercial and personal property, to get things cleaned up here in Reynoldsburg. So I wanted to personally thank Attorney Shook and also Director Dorman, so we can get this house cleaned up. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Madam President, can I
Councilmember
go next?
Packard.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
So first of all, I want to thank Tatiana for bringing this up. I have this statement I wanted to read out this at the end, but I think it's a good time to do this one about anti-Asian hate. And I mean, when you go, the anti-Asian hate is not a new thing to this country, but recently there's a very big rise we have seen in Atlanta, and also we have seen locally here in our state. We have some issues in Akron, Ohio, though we don't have any such thing right in our place, but it is a very, very concerning issue because the rise in Asian hate in this 2018-2019 has gone 145%. And whereas at the same time, there's a decrease in other kinds of hate by 6%. So that means primarily Asian Americans have been targeted by this hate group. So I just want to make sure that there's no place for any kind of hate in our community. And also I want to keep the families of those killed in my prayers, and hope for the good, and hope that law will provide justice to those people who are behind this kind of hate. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other community comments? Thank you. We'll move on to our motions. We have a motion to approve a resolution recognizing Erica Crawley. Councilmember Strickland, would you please read the resolution?
Yes, thank you. I am really excited to read this resolution. Ms. Crawley, she is a mother, a friend, and a fierce leader in our community. She's fighting the war on infant mortality and many issues that impact Reynoldsburg residents and Ohioans. I am honored to call her a mentor and a sister friend. A resolution appreciation for Erica Crawley. Whereas the city of Reynoldsburg wishes to recognize Erica Crawley for her outstanding dedication and continuous commitment to the Reynoldsburg community in the state of Ohio. And whereas Ms. Crawley received her Bachelor's of Arts degree in criminology from Cleveland State University and a master's degree in public administration from Walden University. And whereas Ms. Crawley also proudly served the United States as a Naval Computer and Telecommunication Area Master in the Navy from 2000 until 2003, when she was honorably discharged. And whereas she was advocating on behalf of children and families with the Cuyahoga County Job and Family Services, the YMCA Head Start program as a court-appointed special advocate for children, and with the Black Child Development Institution in Atlanta. And whereas Ms. Crawley continued her career by pursuing a lifelong dream of becoming an attorney, where she graduated from Capital University, where in 2017, she was awarded the Graduate of the Year for the Black Law Students Association, the Capital University Law School Dean's Ambassador Award, and Order of the Ambassadors, And whereas in 2018, Ms. Crawley was elected at the Ohio House of Representatives for the 26th District and proudly serves on the Finance Committee and the Armed Services and Veterans Affairs Committee. And whereas Ms. Crawley has expressed her dedication to expand access to healthcare, help veterans, address prenatal and infant health care, and facilitate more about conversations about discrimination and race. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of Reynoldsburg that the Reynoldsburg City Council is proud to acknowledge, recognize, and value Erica Crawley for her service to our country, her remarkable years of community service, her commitment to the community and state, her commitment and loyalty to the century of Reynoldsburg and the state of Ohio. Passed this 22nd day of March 2021. Thank you, Ms. Erica Crawley, for your service and everything you do for our city, everything you do across Ohio. Thank you so much. If anyone else would like to say anything about, I know a few of us know Ms. Crawley. If you want to say a couple of words, please do.
May I have the floor, please?
Yes, Councilwoman Lawson Rowe.
State Rep Crawley, I hold you in such high regard, and I appreciate your leadership. I appreciate your passion in uncovering the inequities of your district, of the broader community in Ohio. I consider it a privilege to know you and to be able to reach out to you to seek your wisdom and your guidance and your counsel. And you are the epitome of leadership when it comes to rolling up your sleeves. And I thank you for being a point of reference for me and many of us here.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Madam President.
Do we have any other comments? Yes, Councilmember Baker.
I just want to quickly say congratulations to Representative Crawley. I met Representative Crawley back when she was running, and I knew she was going to be something special, and she's showing everybody what she can do. And I tell you what, we are all in this for a special treat as the years to come, because I know this young lady, and I can say young lady because she's younger than me. This young lady is going to do some fantastic things, not just for Reynoldsburg and Central Ohio, but throughout the whole state of Ohio.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Baker.
Do we have any other
Can I say a few words?
comments from anyone on council? Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you, council members and Mayor Joe, and thank you for those very kind remarks. Like, I'm really in tears. One, because I can't believe I'm being recognized at the same time as the Honorable Joanne Davidson, Madam Speaker. It is an honor and privilege. I can't even, like, when I saw the agenda, I was like, wow, I'm being recognized with her, who, you know, I know for me and my female colleagues in the State House, and knowing that she is the only female speaker, you know, we want to be like her when we grow up. And I can say for me, as being the first Black woman ranking Democrat for the Finance Committee, you know, this is history. And so I am just honored to even be recognized tonight. If you knew my story, I never even wanted to be an elected official. I'm an introvert by nature. I just want to advocate on behalf of children and families. I want all of our communities to be able to thrive and not just survive. And so, you know, that's what I'm here for. That's what I would like to see in Reynoldsburg. I always make myself available to be a resource to my neighbors in the district, but those who are not. At the end of the day, I work for the people and I just want to lift up their voices in the State House. And so thank you again for all your kind words. Thank you for the resolution. It means a lot to me. You have no idea. And so thank you all.
We appreciate all of your hard work. You were one of the first people that I met when I was running for office, and you inspired me to run, and you have been someone that I have admired, and I appreciate all your work in Reynoldsburg and all that you do for everyone in Ohio. So I want to thank you as well and appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Madam President.
At this time, I would like to have a motion to recognize Representative Crawley.
So moved.
Councilmember Bryant, and may I have a second?
Second.
Councilmember Baker. I saw raise his hand. I can't see everyone. Is there any other discussion? All in favor? Say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Representative Crawley, for all of your hard work. Next, we'll have a motion to approve a resolution to recognize Ms. Joanne Davidson. Councilmember Lawson Rowe, would you please read this resolution?
Yes, ma'am. And may I take a moment of personal privilege just to share with the Honorable Joanne Davidson how much respect and admiration that I have for you, along with, I'm sure there's no words seem adequate for all that you've done, being, you know, the trailblazer here in Reynoldsburg and on to the state. And so I'd also like to say, you know, thank you for agreeing to meet with us this time last year when Madam President Jenkins arranged the time for us to meet with you. And we were to honor you this time last year, but something called the pandemic came about. And so it's just a privilege to be able to have that opportunity yet today, and your leadership does not go unnoticed. So with that, may I offer a resolution of appreciation for Joanne Davidson. Whereas the city of Reynoldsburg wishes to recognize Joanne Davidson for her outstanding dedication and continuous commitment to the Reynoldsburg community and the state of Ohio. And whereas Mrs. Davidson was born in Findlay, Ohio, but settled in Reynoldsburg, where she raised her family and embarked on her political career. And whereas Miss Davidson was elected to the Reynoldsburg City Council in 1967 and served with distinction until 1977, when she was elected to clerk to Truro Township. And whereas in 1980, Mrs. Davidson was elected to the Ohio House of Representatives, served as the House Minority Leader in the 120th General Assembly, and was selected as the first female Speaker of the Ohio House in 1995, where she served until 2001. And whereas Mrs. Davidson continued to serve Ohio on a variety of boards and charity organization, providing her talents and expertise in budgeting issues, education issues, and local government issues. And whereas Mrs. Davidson has been a member or assisted with the Reynoldsburg Parent Teacher Association, Girl Scouts of America, the March of Dimes, the Ohio Chamber of Commerce special programs, the Reynoldsburg Pickerington Rotary Club, and many more organizations. And whereas during her many years of service, Joanne Davidson has served her state and community with dedication, distinction, led by example, and earned the deep respect and gratitude of the many individuals she has represented. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of Reynoldsburg that Reynoldsburg City Council is proud to acknowledge, recognize, and appreciate Joanne Davidson for her distinguished career, outstanding years of community service, her commitment to community and state, her selflessness and loyalty to the citizens, I can't say that word, of Reynoldsburg, state of Ohio, past this 22nd day of March, 2021.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions or comments from anyone on council?
Madam President.
I'd like to say a thank you to Ms. Davidson for meeting with us when we were first elected and was telling us her story and telling us everything that she went through. We were able to even understand what she went through and what we went through. There were still some things that were very common as women. And she was even willing to introduce us to some other people, but the pandemic hit, so that just shut everything down. But hopefully once things are lifted and once we're all vaccinated, we can still meet and get together and still continue our conversation. But I appreciate you and your willingness to meet with us. It was very nice and we appreciated that very much. Do we have any other comments from anyone else on council?
Yes, Madam President, may I say a couple words here?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Davison, for again taking the time out of your busy schedule to meet with us last year. She is someone who I admire, I look up to. You really paved the way for women just like me to be able to stand and run for an elected seat. Never in a million years would I have even thought that I would be here today, but it is women like you who was the pioneer to making a difference. So thank you so much for everything you are doing, you have done. I truly, truly appreciate you. Thank you.
You're on mute.
Can I go? Madam President?
Yes.
I just want to say, Madam Speaker, thank you for joining us today. And this resolution is rightly deserved for all the hard work that you have done, not just for women, but also I can say that for men, seeing what you did in the environment that you did is inspiration on the male side as well, because you showed what strong leadership is. And so I just want to say thank you on that part. And also thank you for breaking down the barrier for women, especially in the State House, because history in the State House towards women wasn't never really kind, but you did something that no other woman could do. And I applaud you for that.
Well, being able to visit with you tonight brings back 20 years of memories. For the 20 years I was in the legislature, I always represented my home community of Reynoldsburg. And I'm also honored actually to be recognized this evening along with Representative Crawley, because I know the hard work she does and what she's chosen to pursue to make a difference in her community. So I think it's really, really admirable of you to recognize both of us and just realize that the women that are representing you or have been representing you are really, really out there for Reynoldsburg in any way, shape, or form that we can be.
Yes. Thank you. May I have a former speaker, Davidson, please?
Madam President, you cut out there.
Councilmember Bryant. Oh, I'm sorry. May I have a motion to recognize former speaker Davidson?
So moved.
Councilmember Bryant, is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Lawson Rowe, is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Shut it. Now you know how I feel.
opposed? The motion carries.
Councilmember Strickland,
Thank you
I
very
have.
much for coming this evening. Thank you very much for coming this evening. Both Representative Crawley and former Speaker Davidson, we appreciate all of your hard work here in Reynoldsburg and all throughout Ohio. Thank you very much. Now we have a motion to approve a resolution to proclaim social workers are essential. Councilmember Bryant, please read this resolution.
Thank you, President Jenkins. A motion to approve a resolution to proclaim social workers are essential. Whereas the social work profession for decades has been dedicated to improving human well-being and enhancing the basic needs of all people, especially the most vulnerable among us. And whereas this year's Social Work Month theme, Social Workers Are Essential, embodies the heroic contributions of the social work profession to our nation, including the work social workers have done to heal our nation during these times of pandemic, racial unrest, economic uncertainty, and political divisiveness. And whereas social workers have helped this nation live up to its values by successfully advocating for equal rights for all people, no matter their race, sexual identity, gender, gender expression, culture, or religion. And whereas the social work profession is one of the fastest growing professions in the United States, with nearly 800,000 people expected to be employed as social workers by 2028. And whereas social workers work in all parts of our society to empower people to live their fullest potential, and whereas school social workers have worked with families and schools throughout the pandemic to ensure students reach their full academic and personal potential, and whereas social workers play a crucial role in our nation's healthcare system and have played a key role in this nation's response to COVID-19 and helping individuals, families, and communities cope with the epidemic, whether in person or remotely, with substance abuse disorders and mental illnesses such as depression and anxiety. And whereas social workers will continue to stand ready to assist our nation in overcoming present and future challenges, including pushing for racial equity, ending gun violence, improving health care and mental health care for all, and urging lawmakers to adopt immigration reforms. Therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the City of Reynoldsburg, we do hereby recognize the numerous contributions made by America's social workers by proclaiming the month of March 2021 as National Social Work Month, and call upon all citizens to celebrate and support the National Associations of Social Workers past this 22nd day of March 2021.
Thank you. Are there agenda comments from council? May I recognize Social Work Month?
Madam President, can I speak? And it looked like she froze.
Yes, Councilmember Baker.
Oh, I just briefly want to speak on this because, as everyone know, I always thank our essential workers because they are the backbone of this country, and they really stepped up during this pandemic in my lifetime. And it's sorry, there's no words of saying thank you, just thank you, because it is really wanted that you are recognized. So to all the essential workers in Reynoldsburg, and really throughout the country, thank you.
You're on mute, Madam President.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments from anyone on council? May I have a motion to recognize Social Workers Month?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Councilmember Baker,
Councilmember Bacon, please.
and Councilmember Bryant gave the second.
Bryant, yes. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion. Next on our agenda, we'll have the reports. The first is this, and we'll have Chief Baker.
Unmute yourself.
Good evening, Madam President and members of council. The first application is for a liquor permit transfer from Global Partners of Ohio, 7616 LLC to Subu Petroleum LLC and more at 7616 East Main Street. The business location is not situated in an area that would have an adverse effect on the operation of any hospital, schools, or playgrounds, and the department does not oppose the transfer. The second one is an application for a new permit for 1883 Locale LLC located at 7345.5 East Main Street. It's for a D1, D2, D3, and D6 class. That's beer, wine, and mixed beverages on premises are sold in sealed containers for carry out until 1 a.m. Spirituous liquor for on-premise consumption only until 1 a.m. and sale of intoxicating liquor between 10 and midnight on Sundays, or 10 a.m. to midnight on Sundays. The owner's name is Christine Logoski, and she has no prior offenses, and she plans to run this as an event venue. The business, again, is not situated in an area that would have an adverse effect on the operation of any schools, hospitals, or playgrounds, and we do not have any opposition to this license either. So if you don't have any questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next, we'll have the auditor's report for January 2021.
Madam President, the Auditor's Office submitted the budget by department and classification for the month of January 2021.
Thank you. Auditor Sisak, do you have anything to add to this evening?
No, Madam President, I do not. If there are any questions, though, ever, please feel free to reach out to me at my office any day.
Thank you. Next, we'll have the clerk of court report. Clerk Prasher.
Madam President, I am submitting monies, the clerk of court submitted monies collected from the courts held on February 4th, 11th, 18th, and 25th. Those sums totaled $12,622 for the month.
Development Parks and Recreation Committee report, Councilmember Baker. You're on mute.
Okay, sorry. This is Development Park and Recreation Committee for March 22nd, 2021. Members in attendance are Councilmember Cotner, Councilmember Lawson Rowe, Councilmember Pacquiao, myself, and you, Madam President. The first item on the agenda is an ordinance authorizing the city auditor to remove equipment from the city fixed asset list for the Reynoldsburg Parks and Recreation Department. Director Bowman, do you have any comment on this legislation?
Yes, thank you, Chairman Baker, members of council, Madam President. This is a 2001 Dodge Ram van that has reached its life expectancy, and it has been recommended by the fleet mechanic to remove it from operation.
Okay. Is there any questions from the committee for Director Bowman? Any from committee? Okay. Oh, by the way, I like the view in the background.
Thank you.
So seeing how there's any questions, do I have a motion? I mean, I like to make the motion that we forward this on the council for its first reading. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Lawson Rowe. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. Seeing none, this legislation will be forwarded to council for its first reading. The next item on the agenda is an ordinance to amend chapter 971 municipal parks in the code of ordinance for city of Reynoldsburg, Ohio. This legislation is scheduled for a work session only tonight. So I'll go ahead and turn this over to Director Bauman and Attorney Shook.
Thank you, Chairman Baker, members of the committee, Madam President. Attorney Shook and I have been working on the codified ordinances for the Municipal Parks 971 for the last several months, and we have made some changes. They are highlighted in red in your packet, so hopefully you've been able to review them. I will go over just a few things rather quickly here that we've addressed. First would be the hours of operation for the park. We're going to change that to be 6 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. This time frame of taking it down to 9:30 will give the police department ample time to get over to Civic and to Pine Quarry to secure the park in the evening prior to shift change. Right now the hour is open till 11 p.m. and we just feel that that is just a little bit too late to have a park open that late. Most of the surrounding communities are not open that late. 97107 scheduled events and activities. We've just removed some language from there that is no longer pertinent. Several of the organizations have disbanded. 97111 protection of natural and ecological environment. We've added language regarding removing trees that present a clear and unacceptable risk to the public as determined by the Parks Department. And we've added language about no invasive species to be planted as per federal and state guidelines. 971.13, we've just added some clarity and expanded on some of the explanations in there. 971.17 power model toy engines and drones. We do not have any drone language currently, and drones are becoming very popular, so we wanted to add some language on drones regarding recreational usage. 971.27 erecting and attaching signs, just doing some clarification as to language as to why we have that piece of that ordinance in there. 971.30 littering, importing of rubbish and trash prohibited, and pet owners' responsibilities. We actually did not have an ordinance about litter in the parks, so we have gone ahead and added that. That's 971.30. So it just directs patrons that they are to dispose of their trash into receptacles. They can't bring anything into the park, and pet owners should be responsible to clean up after their pet. We also added 971.32 pollution of water, stating that no person shall place or permit to be placed in any waterway any noxious material or any materials which may affect the use or enjoyment of such waterways for recreational or other park uses. Other various sections, we've done just some correction on grammatical errors. And like I said, this is a work session, so if there's any questions that you have after reading through it, I won't be here for the next meeting, so Attorney Shook can answer those questions.
So let's dive right into this. Is there anybody on the committee that has any questions? Anybody on council? Oh, this is a quick work session. Okay. Well then with that,
I thought it might be. I think what Director Bauman and I had talked about is that with codified changes, we would, especially with major changes, we'd like to bring it to council for a work session and then 3 reads after that. This is probably the kind of legislation we should have brought for a first read, and that's on me. That's my mistake. But I would ask council to bring this back to committee next meeting for the potential to move it on for a first read. And if you have any changes between now and then, feel free to reach out to either myself or Director Bauman so we can discuss those and make sure that the legislation is in a good, strong form for first read.
Okay. I've read through this piece of legislation. It's pretty straightforward of why the changes were needed, because there are some things in there that are way out of date. So thank you for the work, Director Bauman and Attorney Shook, as always, on this piece of legislation. So seeing how there's no comments from committee or the council, I'm going to go ahead and end this work session and move on to the next piece of legislation.
Thank you.
And you're welcome, ma'am. The third piece of legislation for the committee is an ordinance to support for the city's participation in the Central Ohio's Rapid 5 project to connect Central Ohio Greenway and approving funds therefore. Director Bowsher, would you like to speak on this?
Thank you, Chairman Baker, other members of council. This legislation is before you tonight in support of this Rapid 5 project. I know that you can take a look at some of the things that we talked about, but I'm going to share my screen and go over a couple of slides to sort of outline some of the stuff and why the project should be supported and it's important. Everyone see that? Great. So basically, it talks about redefining our city. So when we talk about transportation, we typically think of automobiles, buses, moving in and out of the city. But even more so now, more than ever, we're talking about greenways and green infrastructure and trails and connectivity that way. But this takes it even a step further and starts talking about waterways throughout the community. We're part of this Rapid 5 project here in Central Ohio. So this is a coordinated effort with the Urban Land Institute, ULI, MORPC, the Columbus Foundation, and various other communities throughout Central Ohio. The idea being that it's a $500,000 project. They are hiring the Neighborhood Design Center. And with that, basically what they're doing is they're creating a plan, a vision, and doing some light engineering to show the connectivity of all of the existing trails with brand new trails throughout Central Ohio, creating this green and blue corridors. We're actually part of one of the 5. We're considered part of the Big Walnut section with our Blacklick Creek Trail. I'm going to go through and talk a little bit about it. So it talks about the connection between the environment, recreation, and Central Ohio communities. We understand there's 146 miles of blueways and riparian corridors, 38,300 acres of parks and green space, 143 miles of trails and connections, and 315 miles of on-street bike and facilities. So we just continue to add new residents. We understand that we want to connect those new residents with the existing trails and services. We definitely see that this is a huge benefit of health and wellness, mobility choice, environmental stewardship, economic vitality, and social equity. We understand the people and places who are impacted by this, residents, cultural institutions, businesses, and schools. Understanding that this is our current system today. You can actually see the Blacklick Woods here, also with the Blacklick Trail where it actually ends at JFK Park. The understanding is we've had some plans for some time to have that connect all the way up in New Albany. You can see the other trails that go in through Central Ohio. When this project is said and done, this will be the corridor, basically creating sort of multiple emerald necklaces and connectivity here in Central Ohio. So what we ask of you tonight, or what MORPC is asking of us, is to contribute $10,000 to this study, to this master plan. Other municipalities have all opted in. The city of Dublin is doubling our match, and others. City of Columbus is $100,000. They'll be hiring 5 other additional firms as part of that, and they're also taking private dollars to enhance this. So just like we talked about earlier about the housing strategy or Columbus's 2050 plan, all of those were coordinated through MORPC and asked for contributions. What this does for us is it gives us a seat at the table so we can continue to work and push hard the Reynoldsburg initiatives that we currently have now, so we'll be better connected to Central Ohio tomorrow. The idea here, see, as we had talked about, we're part of that Big Walnut section, and then just some really beautiful shots. So I'm going to stop share screen here. but I'm going to open it up to any questions. So our contribution, as we said, we'd be appropriating 10,000. This would go into the Columbus Foundation's account to be utilized by MORPC and ULI to go ahead and fund this project and see it push forward. Thank you.
Any questions for Director Bowsher on this from the committee?
I have a question.
Councilman Peckrell.
Thank you. And this is great. Definitely, this is very, I think we have to be participating in it. One question is, you mentioned that they're also looking for private money there. So can you tell a little bit about that one? Because I'm curious about who is, how much of the private money is coming in.
Yeah, so outside of the local municipalities, they're going to different health sectors. My assumption would be that it's Cardinal Health, Ohio Health. They're probably going after AEP, Columbia Gas, some of the bigger firms that are here locally, L Brand, some of our largest employers, because it's only serves them if they're connecting their employees with these trails so people can bike, even kayak to work if they wanted to along our trail systems.
Thank you.
And kayak to city council meetings. Anybody else have any questions? Comments? Okay. Seeing none, I'd like to make a motion that we move this forward to council for its first reading. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Pacquiao. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, ayes have it, and this will be moved forward to council for its first reading. I do have one question about the work session. Was the committee supposed to, Attorney Shook, was committee supposed to just vote to move that along, or just let it go and then we'll just put it on for a first reading at the next meeting?
No, you will bring it, it will come back to committee at the next meeting to be discussed again and then be motioned for a first read to council.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Okay, well, with that being clarified and there's nothing else in front of the committee, Madam President, I turn this back over to you.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Public Safety, Law, and Courts Committee, Councilmember Bryant.
Thank you, President Jenkins. This is the Public Safety, Law, and Courts Committee meeting for March 22nd, 2021. Members in attendance are Councilmember Cotner, Councilmember Lawson Rowe, Councilmember Peckrell, myself as the chair, and President Jenkins. First item is an ordinance appropriating funds from the unappropriated general funds to the police department for donated monies. Chief Baker, do we have the chief with us?
This is Deputy Chief Grizel. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. This is a donation to our K-9 program. It's a very generous one. The donation comes from Revolution Mortgage, Essential Title, Access Title, and friends of those businesses. And we plan on using the funds to purchase a third K-9 this summer.
Excellent. Do we have a timeline for that?
For the summer?
Yeah, for the purchase of the new K-9.
As soon as we can. There's been some a case, maybe Mr. Shook could give you an update on the end of that case before we can proceed.
Attorney Shook, do you have anything to add?
Not at this time.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Deputy Chief. Are there any questions or comments from the committee on this legislation?
I have a comment, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
I would just like to say, really big ups to Revolution Mortgage and all of the businesses that donated this grandiose donation to our Reynoldsburg Police Department. I've said it once and I'll say it again. It is, we want Reynoldsburg to be the best police department in all of Central Ohio, and our area businesses, which are the lifeline of our community, working to make that happen. So I would just like to salute Revolution Mortgage and all those other companies. Thank you.
Thank you, council member. Do we have any other comments from the committee? Any questions or comments from council? All right, I move that we forward this ordinance to council for first reading. Do we have a second? Seconded by Council Member Lawson Rowe. See, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. This ordinance will be forwarded to council for first reading. Next item is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a lease agreement with Modern Office Methods for the copiers for the police department. Deputy Chief, do you have anything for us on this?
Yes, ma'am. This is actually going to result in a cost savings. It's a renewal of an expiring lease of 2 copiers that we utilize. Again, it's going to be $1,200 a year less than the current lease. So we found that some of the features that we were present in the old agreement were not being utilized. We were able to save some money.
Excellent, thank you. Do we have any questions or comments from the committee? Yes, City Attorney Shook.
I just want to note for purposes of the meeting and the record that competitive bidding is waived on this particular item because these copiers for a lease are listed on the state bid list, and the price that we have negotiated or at the police have negotiated is at or less than the state bid price.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other questions or comments from the committee? Any questions from council? All right, seeing none, I move that we forward this ordinance to council for a first reading. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Council Member Lawson Rowe. Do we have any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. This ordinance will be forwarded to council for first reading. Next item is an ordinance authorizing the city auditor to remove equipment from the city's fixed asset list and declaring an emergency. Chief Baker is requesting this ordinance be passed in a single read emergency measure due to the timing of the insurance settlement. Deputy Chief, do you have any comments?
Yeah, ma'am. He just wanted me to pass on that this is the removal of 2 totaled cruisers that were hit by uninsured drivers. The reason for the emergency, as you said, is that the vehicles need to be transferred to the insurance company so we can receive the insurance proceeds for the vehicles.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Chief. Do we have any questions? Do we have any questions or comments from the committee? Any for council? All right, I move that we forward this ordinance to council as a single read emergency measure. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Council Member Peckrell. Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. This ordinance will be forwarded to council as a single read emergency. And as there is no further business before the Public Safety Law and Courts Committee, I return the meeting to President Jenkins.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Public Service and Transportation Committee. Councilmember Strickland, please.
Thank you, Madam President. This is the Public Service and Transportation Committee meeting for March the 22nd, 2021. Members in attendance are Councilmember Codner, Councilmember Lawson Rowe, Councilmember Pacquiao, myself, and President Jenkins. Item number 1, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with EMHT to conduct surveying, design engineering, and bid services for the city's 2021 water main replacement project and appropriating funds therefore. Director Darman, would you like to speak regarding this legislation? Director Dorman, are you there?
Director Dorman is here. He's just having connectivity issues. Let me work with him.
Thought I was watching the basketball game.
There is no basketball game on anymore. It's
There we
over.
go. I'm there. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you,
There we go.
sir. So I'm reading
Sorry about
item number 1.
Yep, gotcha. So Councilwoman Strickland, as you guys have heard probably multiple times in the past, over the past year, the city of Reynoldsburg was mandated by the EPA to do certain infrastructure improvements, mainly to our sanitary sewer and our stormwater systems as part of what they call the CMOM and NPDS programs. This is part of our annual CMOM program, where we go out and just evaluate our water lines, our sewer, our sanitary lines. The water lines we're looking to replace in this section of the city were built in, I think, the 1950s. And once again, we base the work that we do on past history. So we look at not only the age, we look at the material, and we also look at the amount of water breaks we've had on that line. Over the past probably 3 months, we've had the water crews dispersed 1 or 2 times a day, all throughout the day, repairing breaks, on either the mains or on the service side from the main to the disconnect. So this is, once again, this is something that once we do it, we hope it would last us another 60 or 70 years, and typically it will. But once again, it's just one of those projects. This comes out of the enterprise fund. Once again, these funds are not going to be used for anything else other than water improvements.
All right, thank you. Now, do we know which area you're going to be looking at as of yet, Director Dorman?
Yes, I think in the attachment that I should have provided with the packet, there was a map shown of the area. I'm trying to bring that up now. Let me see if I can find that area. If anyone has it in front of them, they might find it quicker than I can, but let me see here.
Okay, we can look into that. So I just want to make sure we communicate out to the neighbors regarding which areas we're going to be looking into as we move down this project.
I found it. It's Marlin and Saratoga Avenues, as well as Gilmore Drive.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any questions or comments from the committee on this legislation? From council? I move we forward this ordinance to council for a first reading. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Lawson Rowe. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. This ordinance will be forwarded to council for a first reading. Item number 2, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with Star Consultants Incorporated to conduct a needs assessment for the city's current public service and parks and recreation facilities. Director Dorman.
Yes, so once again, a few weeks ago, we had Star do a brief presentation before council on what they felt the need was for the city kind of moving forward in some direction that they would help us, they would provide for us so we could get to an actual stage of development, whether we either redevelop the sites we have or try and consolidate them onto one site. As we talked about, the sites we have are, have not been updated in several years and don't meet the current standards really required for several of our employees to be working in there and doing certain day-to-day operations such as painting, cleaning equipment, emergency response. For instance, if there was ever an accident in the garage, you're welding or doing mechanic work, the facilities just are not really up to speed for what's required nowadays. So this would be for the proposal is just for a needs assessment. So they're going to basically provide the framework for the city so we can then move forward, hopefully, and either, like we said, go with a redevelopment or a new construction facility that would house all of our, not only our streets, water, and sewer, but also the parks and recreation department.
Thank you, Director Dorman. I know I've visited those sites and they are in need of repair. Yeah, we need to make sure that we're taking care of our employees and giving them the best facilities that we can be able to provide for them. So thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the committee on this legislation?
Yes, I do have one question. So can I ask that?
Yeah, yes, go ahead, Councilmember
All right.
Perez.
Thank you. So this need assessment is for all the facilities or only one or like some of them?
It would be for, so right now we have two sites, approximately within probably a quarter mile of each other. One is on Old Turo Avenue, that is between Turo and the creek, and the other one is off of Main Street behind the bus garage. We would look to consolidate either both those sites or have to redevelop both of them to meet current standards. The site on Main Street has my street and stormwater department in it. The site on Turo is a shared site. It has the water and sanitary department. And then on the other side is also Ms. Director Bauman's Parks and Recreation Department employees as well. So the idea, I think we'll see what STAR says. I think they've alluded to the fact that it may be in the city's best interest just to do a new site. But we would use one of the existing sites. We wouldn't look to purchase land. We basically, the site on Main Street, the city is fortunate enough that we have a site that's big enough that probably could accommodate what we need without even purchasing any additional land.
Director Dorman, do we know how long it's going to take to do the needs assessment from
Yes.
our consultants?
Yeah, so we basically, sit down with them. We had, I think we had 6 proposals that we reviewed. We had a committee which was established with directors from various departments and the mayor and several key employees. And based on that, that is pretty much was one of the priorities too, is scheduling. And they feel that they could probably have everything done. And if we decided to move forward with the actual architecture and engineering plans, by the end of the year, we could have everything done. This needs assessment will only take probably, I think, roughly 90 days.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions from council?
I like to make a statement that I agree with you, Councilwoman Strickland and Director Dorman, that new facilities are needed for both these departments, because I remember a few years ago when I visited the Parks and Recs department site, and Director Bauman showed me and told me the needs that her department need at the time. And touring the facility, yes, the facility is very outdated. It's outlived its use, and I think this is a great, a perfect direction to go in, because we want to have the best stuff, but we also got to protect it too. And our current facilities does not do that. And also, it does have to do with safety with our workers as well. And I may say the facilities for the accommodation for women, especially in the Parks and Rec facility, is not that great. So I'm 100% for this. I wish we could do it on one reading, get it moving, because it really needs to be done. But that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Any other comments from anyone? All right, I move we forward this ordinance to council for a first reading. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Lawson Rowe. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This ordinance will be forwarded to council for a first reading. Item number 3, an ordinance authorizing the city engineer, director of public service to implement an annual sidewalk inspection, repair and maintenance program. Director Dorman.
Yes, so we've talked about this as well in the past. It's the city's desire to kind of do some infill on sidewalks throughout the city where we're missing pieces, where we have a disconnect where a sidewalk ends and you have a piece in the middle that's nothing, and then it continues back to sidewalk. And a lot of those we'll address when we get redevelopment. We'll require the developer to come in and redo the sidewalks or leisure trail, whatever is required for that area. What we're talking about right now is the city's need just to keep up with our sidewalks. It is the property owner's responsibility per the ORC to maintain their sidewalks and driveway approaches. However, that really hasn't been addressed in many, many years. Some of the areas in the city are fine, where other areas are, a little worse off. Right now, when we get a complaint, we will go out and investigate it, and we will, through our code enforcement officers, cite the resident only through a complaint, because if we went out manpower-wise, and just started looking at these, it'd be pretty overwhelming. So what we decided to do is, on an annual basis, we will look and inspect all the sidewalks that abut the streets that we're redoing that year as well. So that way we come into the area, we do everything at once. We do signs, we do sidewalks, we do curb and asphalt, whatever we need to do, and then we're done. And hopefully those residents don't have to deal with that headache for another 15, 20 years. So EMH&T has already done some preliminary work on this and kind of looked at what we have out there. To be honest, we're a little fortunate because these areas are not very bad at all. I mean, the city is, it's kind of a double-edged sword. We don't have many street trees in the city. And because of that, you don't have a lot of heaving of the sidewalks in some of these areas. So in this area, we're looking at, I think less than $30,000 in probably sidewalk repairs that are going to need to be made. Now, what will happen though is the residents will have the option. What we'll do is we'll send out a letter saying, here are the sidewalk panels on your property that need fixed. They have the option to completely go and do that themselves if they'd like to. Hire their own contractor and then just let us know and we'll take them off the list. If they don't want to do that, they can just go ahead and have it done by our contractor and pay us directly. Or if they don't want to pay for it at that time, they can also then just choose to have a special assessment made, which will be put on their property tax the following year.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the committee on this legislation? Any from council? Yes, Councilmember Baker.
I just want to make a comment that I'm glad that we're doing this program, or this program is being suggested, because I've said since day one I've been on council that there's no rhyme or reason why any part of Reynoldsburg should not have any functioning sidewalks. So I'm glad that Director Dorman, that you're putting forth this program, and I hope it is a success, because sidewalks is important, not just because it helps people get from point A to point B, but it's also a safety. So thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Councilmember.
Yeah, and our hope is too, that once we get some word out on this program moving forward, people will start to pay a little more attention and hopefully, take this on at their own without us having to come and do the inspections. And hopefully when we get there, maybe that they're all done. That would be great. So that's kind of the other movement we hope will happen. So.
All right, thank you. I move we forward this ordinance to council for a first reading. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Pacquiao. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. This ordinance will be forwarded to council for a first reading. Item number 4. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an annual agreement with EMH&T for Geographical Information System, GIS, maintenance and support. Director Dorman.
Yes, so as hopefully many people know, the city does have a fairly robust GIS system. So when a developer comes in or when we're doing any kind of work, they provide us what they call as-built drawings, which are basically paper copies of the plans that we then take and digitize and put into a GIS system. So my staff can quickly bring up a map and show where all of our sanitary lines, all of our water lines, all of our infrastructure. And we also have some of the auditor's parcel we import a lot of other data that's already created out there too, such as parcel data and orthophotography and other things. What that allows us to do is quickly from our desk to look at, a water line and say what the size is, kind of the condition of it. We can also then hyperlink to those are also our record plan drawings that have been submitted too. So it saves us a lot of paper copies, but also it makes it available for people. For instance, when we get a utility contract that wants to do a right-of-way permit, we can share that information. So when they're designing their infrastructure, they know where ours is, so they can plan accordingly. And provide us the room that we need to maintain our current system and for future work. Over the past several years, DMHT has done this, maintained this. It's on the cloud, but every year they do the updates for us. So whenever we get plans, they go to DMHT, they do all this work. And they also do some of the development side of it too. So when a new development comes in, if a new plat, like for instance, the MI plat with the MI subdivision that's going on right now, they will bring all that in there. So you'll be able to see all lots on our GIS as well. Over the past several years, this is kind of broken down into 3 different contracts based on the tasks. However, the city attorney and I looked at this, and it was kind of our judgment that it really should be one contract. And at that point, the cost should come to council. So that's why you're looking at this.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the committee on this legislation? From council? I move we forward this ordinance to council. I move we forward this ordinance to council for a first reading. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Lawson Rowe. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. This ordinance will be forwarded to council for a first reading. Item number 5, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an intergovernmental working agreement with Franklin Soil and Water Conservation District to support the Big Walnut Watershed Coordinator Program administered by Franklin Soil and Water Conservative District in coordination with and support from MORPC and the state watershed programs with ODNR and Ohio EPA, and declaring an emergency. Director Dorman.
Yeah, it's quite the intro there. Thank you. This is another example of a contract that the city has done for many years with Franklin Soil and Water. They contract, they don't really call them contracts, they call them working agreements, but they do this with all the unincorporated areas in Franklin County, and they also represent a lot of the municipalities. I've worked with them my entire career. What they do is they provide services. They help us with our stormwater if we need them to help do plan reviews, inspection services. But the biggest thing they do is really what they call public education and outreach. So every year they put on a rain garden, rain barrel program where if residents in the city participate, they get a discount or a free rain barrel, free plants for a rain garden. They'll even help them with some design services as well. They also provide services for the schools. So they get into the schools and they'll provide them some educational material, give them some education on the importance of stormwater pollution control and maintenance. But once again, this is another contract that is the city's entered into every year. However, it's required because it's an intergovernmental type of relationship that it does have to go to council, even though the contract amount is under the threshold.
So Director Dorman, I see that you declared you want an emergency on this one here. Are we working against a time frame on trying to get this one pushed through?
You know, I'm sorry, my superintendent did that. We could do 2 reads on this. I don't think they have any problem with that.
Okay.
I don't mind doing a 2 read and a suspend and adopt after that if council is okay with that. I don't like to do a 1 read unless absolutely necessary. I don't think this needs a 1 read.
All right. Okay, so I can forward this one off for this one for first reading. All right, are there any questions or comments from the committee on this legislation?
Yes, I do have a question.
Yes, Councilmember Pacquiao.
Thank you, Director Dorman. I read this legislation pretty much thoroughly today, and I like very much because it's very close to very close to myself, because my childhood I spent farming, and it has very many things to do with that. My question is, one of the things, the best thing I like is the education piece. And in this one, is there, because as diverse as Reynoldsburg is, there are people who speak various different languages. Is there any way we can address the language need of the community? Because only English we do a lot of time. Is there any way we can do those things here?
I could definitely talk to them and see. I mean, I'm sure that's something they're experiencing from other communities as well, as Columbus is, growing and becoming so diverse. I can definitely talk to them and see. And it's funny you say that too, because I know it's something we have definitely become more conscientious of, in particular in our building department. We just went through the process of interviewing for our permit tech position, and one of the questions we asked, was anyone fluent in any other languages? And it was, interesting to see the responses. But that is something as a city, I think we've definitely, in particular, like I said, my departments are trying to find ways to handle that. But no, that's a great comment. I can definitely talk to them and follow up with you on that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions regarding this legislation for Director Dorman? All right, from council? I move we forward this ordinance to council for a first reading. Is there a second? Is there a second on the legislation?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Pacquiao. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries. This ordinance will be forwarded to council for a first reading. As there is no further business for the Public Service and Transportation Committee, I return this meeting to you, President Jenkins. Thank you.
If I may, Councilwoman Strickland, I just wanted to say, thank you for talking about the vacant property registration. I think Attorney Shook probably doesn't want to take too much of the lead on that, but his team, and it was a really neat project that actually involved not only just the attorney's department, it involved my department, it involved the water department, our code enforcement. I think we started out with close to maybe 200 properties on that list. And I remember when I first started working for the city, sitting down with you and several other people, Mr. Benner, and just talking about kind of what the city's plan was for this. And I think when it's all said and done, we've had close to, 80 to 100 of those properties that have turned over. They've either got active renters in there or they've been sold. The other really important thing about that is we've made contact with the statutory agent, the actual owner of the property. So moving forward, when we have any code violations, it gives us somebody that we can go to and talk to. And even some of the properties that are owned by larger corporations, it got them on notice saying, okay, the city's out looking at this now, and this is in our best interest to get these up to shape. So I just wanted to thank you for bringing that up. But it needs to be spread out among all the departments. Everyone did a really great job, and it was a really good team working project.
Absolutely. Thank you. Real quick, Director Dorman, I know there's another initiative I'm working on, making sure that we are cleaning up our street lights. One particular one on Matterhorn, I believe, that is a different color, one of the poles compared to the rest of them. And so I want to make sure if we can start implementing, looking at the street lights that's surrounding in our different neighborhoods, to making sure that, number one is up to the same color as the other street lights. And looking at making sure the bulb and everything is the same across the board, because I know that has been an issue. And then, we want to make sure that we're coming up with a plan on how we're going to be able to tackle some of these things that have been sitting for many, many years.
Yeah, that unified look is something we talk about quite a bit. And actually, we had MHT late last year, this year, finalized a spec for the street lights within the residential areas and along the main thorough. So we have one now that we'll just hand the developer saying, here's what it's got to look like. And I think before what they did is they let kind of each developer come in and put their own up, and there really wasn't a standard they had to follow. That's why you kind of see so many different varieties. You're right. I notice it when I drive throughout the city. There's so many different varieties, different colors, different styles, everything. One thing I've really emphasized on my department this year is I wanted them actively out painting hydrants. I want them painting streetlights, getting those things kind of spruced up. Those things really make a difference when you're driving through neighborhoods. It shows that we're keeping up with things, and it'll make a big difference as little things like that. And in particular, like the wall on Main Street too, looking at signage, the walls, whatever we can do to kind of get those up, to a level. That's kind of the way we want to see them from here on out. So.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say thank you to you and your team for, getting out there and getting things together. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll pass it along. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Next, we have the Finance and Administration Committee, Councilmember Savati.
Thank you, President Jenkins. This is your Finance and Administration Committee meeting for March 22nd, 2021. All right, so the members in attendance are Councilmember Baker, Councilmember Bryant, Councilmember Strickland, myself, and President Jenkins. My apologies for almost missing your introductions. The first ordinance is an ordinance authorizing the mayor, excuse me, to enter into a governmental aggregation program agreement with Volunteer Energy Services Incorporated to provide full requirements for retail natural gas and related administrative services and to an aggregated group. So I have either Mayor Begany or Director Dorman for this one.
Should be Director Dorman. This is a continuation of the aggregate policies that we've used in the past. Director Dorman, are you still with us?
I am, yes, I'm here.
There you go. Just the aggregate agreement for gas.
So yes, this is just an agreement we enter into. It allows our residents to go out and kind of choose who they want to. The aggregator that we've chosen right now provides us a price. In the end, there is some dividends for the city as well if they can meet the quota they want to get to. But basically what this does, if everyone's ever been on the AP site, or it's not an AP site, it's actually Ohio Department, the state site, where you can go to apples to apples. So anyone at any time can opt out of this. This just is basically saying that we're using this aggregator. They're going to set the base price going into it. However, like I said, at any point, any resident can go and switch out to a different supplier if they want to. And I encourage people to do that. I do that myself. I get on there pretty regularly and look. However, when you do that, you are locked in for a certain amount of time frame, depending on who you sign up for.
Director Dorman, is this pretty much a renewal of the agreement we've had, I think, for the last 2 years with Volunteer?
It is, Councilman Savati, it is, same thing.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments from the committee for Director Dorman? All right, from the rest of council. All right, seeing none, I move we forward this ordinance to council for a first reading. Do I have a second? Second from Councilmember Baker. All right, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, I'm going to assume there were no opposed. So the ordinance will be forwarded to council for first reading. All right, moving on to the second item. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Tyler Technologies for New World Systems Software Annual Service, waive competitive bidding, appropriating funds therefore, and declaring an emergency. All right, is Auditor Sisek going to comment on this?
I am. This is
okay.
this is Joni Crawford, the finance manager. This is a renewal of our maintenance agreement on the software that the city uses for finance, payroll, utility, water billing, the building department, the community development software, and our interface from our time clock system. You haven't seen this in the past. Our last agreement, we did a 5-year agreement that expired on February 28th. They brought it to my attention towards the end of last year, but I thought the price was a little high, and I sent it back to them and asked them to relook at it and get the price back down a little bit. They wanted a 5% increase, and I didn't want to do a 5% increase. I asked them to try to get it down to 4%, which they did. So this is just renewing this agreement. It's a necessary agreement so that we have our software in place. If anything happens, they have, people who answer right away and work with our IT Kirsch group to get the problem fixed as soon as possible so we don't have any delays.
All right, thank you, Joni. Thank you for the persistence in getting it down. Any questions from the committee? All right, seeing none, any questions from the rest of council?
Actually, I do have a question. Hey, Joni, is this the software that has been in place for just maybe a couple years?
This software's been in place since 2010, but we've added things to it when we initially got it. We just had it for the utility and the finance and payroll. Probably 3 or 4 years ago, they added community development, and they've been adding things to that as, you know, they develop the software. As our building department has additional needs, they've been adding to it since then.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Chairman Sobati, I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. In this one, the emergency language is added. Is there any specific reason for that one?
Well, our maintenance agreement already expired. It expired at the end of February. They are still, you know, answering our calls and working on our maintenance agreement. You know, I'd appreciate it if after 2 reads, we could pass it as an emergency, but certainly that's you guys' decision. If you want it to go to 3 reads and do 30 days, then, you know, I'll just inform them that's just the way it has to be. But, you know, they've been a great partner to us. They're not, you know, putting any pressure on us that they won't answer our calls. So I would just, as a show of good faith, like to get passed as soon as possible so that we can, you know, get it locked in.
Thank you.
Knowing that it's expired already, is there any opposition to going ahead and doing this? I'll just, you can just speak up if you oppose. Otherwise, we'll go ahead with the emergency, the 2-read emergency.
Council member Savali, may I ask a question here, please?
You may.
Thank you. Thank you, Joni, for explaining exactly what this system is and everything. I just want to make sure I'm getting a better understanding. Is this the same system that allow our employees to clock in and out?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
No, that's NovaTime. NovaTime is the clock in and out system. This is the system that processes all the bills for utilities. It's the system that we collect all the payments on utilities. It's the system that we run our financial statements on. The reports that were provided earlier in this meeting, those come off that system. It does our purchase orders. It does all the community permit billing, payments and things like that.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm going to move that we forward this ordinance to council for first reading. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Councilmember Bryant. Any final discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, any opposed? All right, motion carries. The ordinance will be forwarded to council for its first reading. Thank you, Joni.
Thank you.
All right, item number 3 is an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into a contract to purchase real property to be used by the city of Reynoldsburg and declaring an emergency. I'm assuming Director Bowsher will comment on this.
I'm going to let the mayor start off.
Okay.
He's going to pass it back.
This time the mayor wants to jump in.
This time I want to jump in. Chair Salvati, members of council, President Jenkins, we have an opportunity, as we discussed at our executive session in early February, about controlling our own destiny. After working with Auditor Sisak, Director Bowsher, the City Attorney Shook, and our financial advisors from Baker Tilly and Squire Patton, we developed a plan to acquire 2 pieces of property in and around Old Town. Each piece would be held by the city until a future sale with the help of a preferred developer. The goal is to have these properties sold within 1 year. For the first time in a long time, we have the opportunity to determine what kind of businesses are coming into the city of Reynoldsburg. While each property has a different planned use, they all fit within our overall plan for a more walkable downtown experience full of boutique shopping and additional dining options not already found. Properties we are looking at include the PNC Bank, targeted for major medical use, as well as potential incubator space, as well as the Happy Dragon location, which is targeted for a first floor medical, in addition to a coffee or ice cream shop, second floor offices, and more. While this is what's planned, the things can change quickly, and there could be the expectation that more medical use would be provided, which again is a big job provider here in the city of Reynoldsburg. And while there is risk, I believe the potential far outweighs that risk, and all involved agree that we should proceed given council's approval. With that, I will turn it over to Director Bowsher to go through the process and then answer questions that council has. Director Bowsher.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chairman Salvati, Madam President, other members of council. So we know we talked about this in executive session a little bit, and I showed you some images and we walked through that, and I won't make it as long-winded as what we had in the past, but I do want to let you know that we did go out and we paid to have these parcels appraised. These are 2 of the 3 that we're talking about. That third one is still sort of in negotiation. We still have some due diligence that we'd like to go. We're going to work through some environmental sort of regulations to ensure that we get a grant from the EPA to be able to check some soils on that one. We did do that on the other 2. We're awaiting those results. That'll be back before the final reading for these. So it still gives us an out if something were to come up. But the appraisals came back. Our purchase price, our negotiated purchase price, are all underneath of the appraisals, which is a good thing. And so we definitely have sort of named a preferred developer. That always could change depending on the users that come in, but it looks really, really good. And as the mayor had said, trying to put all these pieces together, sometimes it takes a lot. Some of the biggest needs that are here in the city is Class A office. So we feel very confident moving forward that we're going to be able to put these together. We think that the Happy Dragon is going to happen the fastest. The PNC has a lot of moving parts and pieces that are to it, but we hope to see sort of construction this time next year on that piece as well. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions anyone has.
All right, are there any questions from the committee for Director Bowsher or the mayor?
Chairman Salvati, I'd just like to make a comment that I'd like maybe to make an amendment to appropriate from the unappropriated general fund to fund the 410 fund for this purchase so it can be properly capitalized.
Okay, would we make that amendment tonight to the attorney?
I would suggest that I'll make the language amendment between first and second read, and then bring it back to.
I was hoping you'd say that. Thank you, Auditor.
And I do want to note that I appreciate the assistance of Auditor Sisak and of Joni Crawford in helping to guide the administration on the financial implications of this agenda item and where the money comes from.
Okay. Any other questions from committee or council?
I do.
Go ahead, Councilman Cotner.
I heard somebody else at the same time. I can go next, or
no, I called on you. Well, we'll get everybody in.
Okay. You, Director Bowsher, said that this appraisals came the appraisals came back, and the price was under those appraisals. What are those amounts?
Yeah, so the purchase price for the PNC is $2 million even. The Happy Dragon and its 3 parcels, 620. The appraised value for the Happy Dragon parcel was 720. The appraised value of the PNC Bank was $2,030,000.
Okay. And the Happy Dragon, especially, you and I've had numerous conversations about that, and numerous developers have committed to you and said that you know they were ready to go, only to have negotiations stop at the 11th hour. What what makes us believe that we should be in the real estate business to go buying properties. And when we've watched a couple developers walk away from that particular property, and if I mean, again, if we have a buyer, or if the other property they're willing to sell it, I mean, I guess I can understand that. But I think there's certain risks that we are not a real estate developer, and I'm not sure how we say that these are emergencies of using under the city's use. So I think there's just a lot of concerns still with both of these going forward. But I guess specifically on Happy Dragon, how do we know better than two other developers who've walked away, so late in the game with them?
Yeah, that's a great question, Councilmember Cotner. So I would say that we're not in the real estate development game, so we won't be developing these properties. We're working with a developer. Obviously, we control pretty much 90% of the property that basically surrounds all of these properties. We've got $2 million invested into the Lancaster parking lot. So there again, we're a real estate developer ourselves. The community center, $30 million. So we've been a part of that game. We did this once before with the Eastside Brewing Company. We had land that we were just going to demo and we were going to throw off to the side. We were able to attract a developer to go in and take over that property. And now it's a thriving business that's looking at expanding already. I think for the Happy Dragon, it was a different time. Certainly, we did not have the credibility that we currently have right now as a city. The zoning code wasn't done. There were a lot of things that were up in the air for a developer, and there were a lot of risks. And additionally, they were going to have to come back and work with us as part of that parking lot that was next to us to make something like that happen. So there were a lot of unknowns, and it was just a lot of risk for somebody to be able to take on. And that 620 evaluation 2-3 years ago, even 4 years ago, when we started talking about this, was a little bit different. And I think without our investments into the downtown streetscape, the community center, all of the housing development that's going in, a lot of the other commercial development, the Alliance project that's out at Bryson, Maine, it sets the tone for what that appraisal was. So we would have made it an appraisal 3 years ago, wouldn't have prayed for 620. And that's where a lot of the developers sort of gotten hung up. Additionally, when working with the individual that's selling, he made it very clear to us that sort of this was the last few months for him. And he was either just going to lease it back and it was going to stay that way forever, but he was out. He was ready to move on to his golden years. And so, things became a little bit more feasible because of that. I think there was a little bit more of a encouragement to sort of wheel and deal at that point. But it takes time bringing these developments together. And so it takes a lot. And so there's an additional risk for a developer that's coming in and wants to put all these pieces together. They can't necessarily do it overnight. So with the city's help, knowing that they're going to have to work with us anyways on the parking lot that's next to it to add in that adjacent ground and build more additional parking to the rear, made us the logical expert in that matter to grab up the land when we could, continue working through those obstacles to make it equitable to allow that development to happen. So I think without us, I don't think it ever does happen.
On that one, then your vision is city buys it for 620,000, holds it for less than a year, and sells it to another developer. Is what you're saying the project looks like that?
Correct. All three of the parcels and the two that are here before you tonight, that is the end goal, is for us to hold on to the properties. One, we were able to secure first right of refusal on the PNC Bank. So it's not even marketable right now. But if we were to turn our backs on it, it would become marketable. It would go into the public, be on the MLS by the end of the week. If we were to say we're going to deny it tonight, or just say that we're not going to move it on. And then anybody could come in and move in. So as the mayor had said, it's the city finally taking a step forward and taking matters in its own hand. I would point out too, that actually the city of Dublin just last week actually approved of their own properties. There was 4 or 5 homes that are next to their old town area as well, where they'd like to see new development. So they ended up going in and buying those homes because they didn't want them to continue sitting the way that they were. Some were vacant and some were dilapidated, even in Dublin. And the idea was they wanted to build new developers. So they're working with the developers after they bought their land. So This is not a new concept for municipalities to get into this game. I would say that it would be significant worry on my part if I said, Councilmember Cotton, we're going to buy these properties, but we're also going to go to turn around and go and build on them, and we're going to develop them ourselves, and we're going to get into that game. But that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying we're working with skilled professionals that are going to pull the deal together. We're going to get a developers agreement that City Attorney Shook and myself will overview alongside the city, or excuse me, the attorneys of the development group. Will come to a term and a purchase price, and they'll move forward, and we'll have brand new development within the city with brand new tenants and income tax dollars that we currently don't have.
Okay. There was another question, but I didn't see who from.
Councilwoman Lawson Rowe.
Do you still have a question, Councilmember Lawson Rowe?
Yes, Chair, thank you. Director Bowser, can you please share for the purpose of information for our neighbors, is it the Class A office space? Is that the correct terminology?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, can you please share what is the benefit of Reynoldsburg having Class A office space, and what do we have now, and what does that mean for the future?
That is an absolute fantastic question. So the city of Reynoldsburg has 0 goose egg Class A office. City does not have any. Probably back in the day, the one closest to us was the tall gold 6-7 story building that's out on Bryce Road. That was probably Class A office back in the day. It's since Class C office and sits vacant. So for us, we have a growing need. There are users that are out there that call my office weekly, monthly. We have sit down conversations, say, hey, we love what Reynoldsburg is doing, and we want to be located. We want to be your neighbors, and we want to bring businesses to the community. What do you have available? Where can we go? Where can we locate? Sadly, I have to say that we don't have any that are available because we don't have any at all. And we consistently lose out on businesses. You know, we lack the, we do a lot of jet agreements. So a lot of the industrial complexes that we have are out there in the township with our agreements there. What the city can hold on to with great medical jobs for medical buildings and MOB, or for regular office space here in the community, and really get great doctor's jobs. You could see how fast we ended up building an extra 15,000 square feet on the community center because we had Ohio Health that saw a need in our community and wanted to build more. They want to expand. We have other medical providers that are knocking on our door that are ready to move into spaces, but there's just no spaces for them to be able to move into. So the mayor had mentioned incubator space. There's a few incubator outfits that are out there right now that really want grand space, that they want to be located in the downtown area. There's other medical users that we talked about, and then another larger office space. Because right now, even in the age of COVID, even though that people aren't fully back to work and there's empty businesses that are downtown, they want to be located really in the suburbs because that's where the majority of their workforce is located. They don't want people to have to automobile there. They want them to be able to walk and bike, and they want them to be located where their workforce is. So I think you're going to see a big shift, us as the city continues forward, that there's going to be this growing need. And we've not really had any in this area. You can even count that Pickering doesn't really have any Class A office. The closest one that you can find is in Gahanna over at Creekside. And that's the type of office space that we're talking about.
Thank you.
Chairman Savati.
Yes, Councilwoman Strickland.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Bowser, for all the work that you are doing. It's good to know that this is not the first time that we are proposing this to buying property. It's something that happened in the past. And so that was good for you to explain that also. And then again, the zoning code was not fully vetted out when this first came about with those 2 other developers that came to Reynoldsburg. Is that true?
It's true. Yeah. One of the developers wanted to bring in strictly housing by itself. So we had to say no thank you to them. They said that was the only way that they can make it work. And the second one tried making it work, but there were too many obstacles and too much fear about well, what is going to happen in the zoning? Can I even get this built? And things were getting denied into the city. And so for them, they said, you know what, it's not worth the risk for us to be able to take that, even though we think that Reynoldsburg is on the up and up. And so now that we have the comp plan and we have the zoning code in place, now these developments can actually happen and thrive. Now people are coming to the table and saying, now we're interested.
And one other thing that stuck out to me, you talked about credibility. What's different then than it is now? Is there something you can talk a little bit about, you know, what happened? You said you talk about the credibility of Reynoldsburg. Is there any particular reason on the, you know, people are coming to Reynoldsburg, want to do business here? Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was an entire holistic approach. So before I even came on, they passed an income tax levy that really opened up the door to a lot of different things. We talked about roads and housing. You know, we passed a comprehensive plan that put us on as a framework, and then we passed a zoning code afterwards, which has got acclaimed fame. Morpsey dubbed us the most forward-thinking and progressive code in the entire state. That is something to be extremely proud of as a community. And people want to be our neighbors. The second hottest real estate market in the country. We're making deals happen. We're bringing in new housing. We're bringing in new development. People continue to sing our praises and talk about us. The BIA, City of Columbus even are looking at us. In fact, they invited me to serve on their stakeholder committee to oversee some of their zoning code changes. So when the big sister to the west says, hey, we really love what you guys are doing, can we steal a little bit of that magic and hope to we change some of that of ourselves? That's saying a lot. And I think that has really put us on a trajectory to a lot of great things. And I think this is sort of the next step. We've got to get into the game of taking hold, taking the bull by our horns by ourselves. We've done a lot of great work and there's a lot of great things that are happening, but this is the next step. Typically, if we had a well-funded CIC, this would be the type of thing that we would run that through. We don't currently. So we're going to go to city council. We're going to do this, and we don't want to lose out on this opportunity, because the last thing that we want is more complacency to build and more things that sit vacant or not the best and brightest use. I mean, we made a comprehensive plan for a reason that said that mixture of uses on these two parcels was the ideal use. So why would we ever want to allow that to let it go to the wayside? So now we're taking advantage of that opportunity to be able to do that and work with the developer to be able to get exactly what the city deserves, because the city deserves a lot more than what you see right now. And I think if you see it in the next 5 years and you drive down Main Street, it's going to be a completely different city, and it's going to be for the better.
And lastly, when you mentioned forward thinking, you know, I appreciate that, right? We know that Reynoldsburg is actually changing, and now how we're going to be able to catch up and get ahead. And I appreciate all the work that you all are doing at City Hall, because I know it's hard work. We do have to continue to push. And as you stated before, take the horn and really run with it. And so all the work that you guys are doing, I truly appreciate it. We are doing great things here in Reynoldsburg. And so people are really coming to us and looking for us to be those leaders at City Hall. So thank you so much.
Chairman Savati, I just want to briefly say thank you for all the hard work, Director Bowser and Mayor Begley, because this is a lot of hard work, especially when you're bringing a city back from the ashes to something where other entities around us are envious. You know, when you said City of Columbus asked you to help them with their comprehensive plan, that's big. You know, we're talking about one of the largest cities in the country is asking for Reynoldsburg for help. And so we shouldn't acknowledge that. Second of all, I think this is a good chance for Reynoldsburg to continue to move forward into the future by getting these parcels. And I think it will help the city grow. It will help us put us more on the map, especially in the state of Ohio. So I support this. I think we have to invest in ourselves. We have to take a chance in ourselves. And once we do that, we will benefit greatly from it. So, but that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great discussion. Is there more? Go ahead, Councilmember Pacquiao.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman Salvati. Very excited to see this, when this will come out in the action fruition of this project. And I hope when we have a better tax base, we'll have much more money for our sidewalks and street. That is the thing that I would like to see with this. I want to see when the CIP will have enough CIP and we can build all the sidewalk in the city. Waiting for to see that one. Thank you for doing all the hard work behind this thing.
All right, is that everybody's questions? All right, so I'm going to we forward this ordinance to council for a first reading. Do I have a second? Second from Councilwoman Strickland. Can't imagine it, but is there any more discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? All right, this ordinance will be forwarded to council for its first reading. All right, so this is the last, the fourth ordinance, an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into a contract to purchase real property to be used by the city of Reynoldsburg and declaring an emergency. I guess we already talked. This is the other property?
Correct. Yes, this, I'm more than happy to give the same speech again, but I think in honor of respecting everybody's time, it's just an opportunity again to control our own destiny, and I appreciate the support of council.
All right, so another chance to chime in. Otherwise, I will move that we forward this legislation to council for its first read. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilmember Baker. And last chance for discussion till next week. All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? All right, this ordinance be forwarded to council for its first reading. And that completes the business of the Finance and Administration Committee, and I return the meeting to President Jenkins.
Thank you. Next, we have item 10 on the agenda, which is consent agenda for emergency adoption. Items 10A through C are part of the consent agenda. These ordinances stand for emergency adoption. Unless someone wants to remove an item for further discussion, council will move forward to vote on these ordinances. Would the clerk please read items 10A through C?
Item A, an ordinance authorizing the city auditor to remove equipment from the city's fixed asset list and declaring an emergency. Item B, an ordinance appropriating unencumbered balances as of December 31st, 2020 in various police special revenue funds and providing that revenues for funds received during 2020 be accepted and declaring an emergency. Item C, an ordinance to increase training appointment period of the tax administrator to 10 weeks and declaring an emergency.
May I have a motion to approve these ordinances?
So moved.
Councilmember Savati, may I have a second?
Second.
Councilmember Pacquiao, would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Baker,
Aye.
Councilmember Bryant,
Aye.
Councilmember Strickland,
Aye.
Councilmember Salvati,
Aye.
Councilmember Pecoro,
Aye.
Councilmember Lawson Rowe,
Aye.
and Councilmember Cotner.
Aye.
Madam President, that was 7-0.
These ordinances are approved with 7 affirmative votes. Item 11 is consent agenda for first reading. Items 11A through M are part of a consent agenda. These ordinances stand for a first reading. Unless someone wants to remove an item for further discussion, council will move forward for a first reading. Would the clerk please read items 11A through M?
A, an ordinance authorizing the city auditor to remove equipment from the city's fixed asset list for the Reynoldsburg Parks and Recreation Department. B, an ordinance of support for the city's participation in the Central Ohio Rapid 5 project to connect Central Ohio greenways and appropriating funds therefor. C, an ordinance appropriating funds from the unappropriated general funds to the police department for donated monies. D, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a lease agreement with Modern Office Methods for the copiers for the police department. E, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with EMH&T to conduct surveying, design engineering, and bid services for the city's 2021 water main replacement project and appropriating funds therefor. F, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with the Star Consultants, Inc. to conduct a needs assessment for the city's current public service and parks and recreation facilities. G, an ordinance authorizing the director of public service to implement an annual sidewalk inspection, repair, and maintenance program. H, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an annual agreement with EMH&T for Geographical Information Systems, GIS, maintenance and support. I, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an intergovernmental working agreement with Franklin Soil and Water Conservation District to support the Big Walnut Watershed Coordinator Program administered by Franklin Soil and Water Conservation District in coordination with and support from MORPC and the state watershed programs with ODNR and Ohio EPA and declaring an emergency. J, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a governmental aggregation program agreement with Volunteer Energy Services, Inc. to provide full requirements for retail natural gas and related administrative services to an aggregated group. K, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Tyler Technologies for New World System Software annual service, waive competitive bidding, appropriating funding therefor, and declaring an emergency. L, an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into a contract to purchase real property to be used by the city of Reynoldsburg and declaring an emergency. And B, an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into a contract to purchase real property to be used by the city of Reynoldsburg and declaring an emergency.
These ordinances stand for a first reading. Item 12 is a consent agenda for a second reading. Items 12A through E are part of a consent agenda. These ordinances stand for a second reading. Unless someone wants to remove an item for further discussion, council will move forward for a second reading. Would the clerk please read items 12A through E?
Item A, an ordinance approving and authorizing the execution and delivery of a joint economic development district contract by and between Etna Township and the city of Reynoldsburg, Ohio, and declaring an emergency. B, an ordinance appropriating funds from the unappropriated general fund to an account in the Community Events Department. C, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to sign the project grant loan agreement with the Ohio Public Works Commission, OPWC, for the East Main Street Roadway Improvement Phase 2. D, an ordinance to authorize the mayor to enter into agreement with EMH&T to conduct closed circuit television, CCTV, data collection and analysis for the city's 2021 sanitary sewer maintenance and repair programs. E, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with EMH&T to conduct surveying, design engineering, and build services for improvements to East Main Street, Jackson Street to Wagoner, Graham Road, and appropriating funds therefor.
And for item third reading, would please read item 13A?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 503 of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Reynoldsburg to provide fair housing opportunities for individuals and their families, regardless of the source of income, to pay for such accommodations.
Is there any discussion regarding this ordinance? May I have a motion to approve this ordinance?
Excuse me.
Yes, Councilwoman. Yes.
Yes, I'd like to offer comments if I may. In terms of source of income, I just wanted to share how this affects my family. And so growing up, my father passed away when I was a preteen. And so my mother was faced with having to be a single parent and not having a second income that she was used to having. And it is by the grace of God that she had my father's pension and was able to use to raise us. But had it not been for my father being a professional man and having a pension, who's to say that my family and I could be faced with having to have some sort of assistance. Again, it's by the grace of God that my mom had a mortgage and we did not live in where we had to rent. So let me fast forward to being a young woman and a young married woman. And my husband and I are professional people, but life happens. And so what happened to our family, and we had young children, is he was downsized out of a position because of Y2K. And that's how we had come to Ohio. And it's by the grace of God that we were able to put our pennies together and be able to pay our rent. At that time, we had a mortgage. We moved here, we rented. Fast forward, I live in a house. In full disclosure, I rent this home. And it's by the grace of God that we have continued to work during this pandemic and are able to pay our rent. Now, we have a wonderful relationship with the owner of this home. And whenever there's any issues with the home, he works with us in order to address those issues and concerns. So I just want to say that it is by the grace of God that we have jobs and that we're professional people, but life happens. And so in full disclosure, I'm a renter. And I know that when I lived in Georgia, we had a home. And when we moved here, we had renters rent our home. And oddly enough, they received rental assistance in order to pay their rent. And we were able to pay our mortgage in that home in Georgia. So I just want to be fully transparent so that my neighbors know that I know what it's like to have to rob Peter in order to pay Paul. I know what it's like to have to help fill in a gap when you don't have that second income that you're used to having. So in terms of a source of income and rental assistance or a state teacher's retirement or veterans benefits, and I could go on and on and on, it helps people to have a roof over their heads. So I'm not sure if we have any people in the City of Respect that own property that would oppose it. But in any case, I want to go on record to say that I fully support it. I've been in those shoes. I have not had rental assistance, but who's to say that I may not at one day? Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other discussion regarding this ordinance?
Yes.
Yes,
Madam-
Councilwoman Strickland.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman Lawson Rowe, for just showing yourself and being vulnerable at this moment. You know, we have had a lot of conversation about this legislation of source of income. As you, I am a renter. We end up taking care of our family, our boy. So there's no shame in saying that you are a renter here. Because at the end of the day, we made choices. We love our family. We are involved within our community and doing the best that we can with what we have. And educated while doing it. So thank you for your honesty. You know, I also want to thank everyone that had an opportunity to speak regarding this legislation, you know, pro and con. That's the good thing of, you know, about having a city council, you have the opportunity to voice your opinion. And so I do truly appreciate that. Also, I want to thank the two speakers earlier, Ms. Colbert and Ms. Olinger, who joined us this evening to support the source of income. They live, I believe Ms. Colbert said she lives right here in Reynoldsburg. You know, not having something in place to protect individuals is something that we have to do. We know discrimination is happening across the board. And so we need to do our fair shot in making sure that we are, as a city, protecting just not some, but everyone. It is happening here. And people say, well, why do we have to have a law in place? Well, there was no laws when women wasn't able to vote. There was no laws when Black people was able to vote until we got government involved to protect. We have to do our part, just not for some, we have to do it for everyone. So I am asking my council member peers to vote yes on this legislation so we can really show everyone else we are the city of respect. So thank you, Madam President.
You're welcome. I'd like to say that I believe in this fair housing opportunity. When I first heard about it, that Bexley had approved it, I had asked our mayor and Director Bowser about it, actually, but I never did get an opportunity to go in and talk to them about it. And then Councilwoman Strickland took the ball and ran with it and went directly to Attorney Shook to talk about it. So I commend you for doing that and acting quickly about it and getting it done, because I do believe in it. And I believe that people should have an opportunity for fair housing.
Can I go next, President Jenkins?
Yes.
All right, thank you. So we have a lot of discussion about it. I have three things to point out here. After going through United Way's presentation and I dig into it, the redlining in Columbus, the red lines in the city of Columbus, when you see the map and the different things, that you can see very clear redlining in our city, the larger metro. So to address the redlining, this is one of the ways to address that one, to be solution oriented. I think people will have a choice where to live. Here, we are not telling that to reduce the rent or increase the rent. We are telling that the source of income is anywhere there's money is there. So I think this is the right thing to do. After hearing United Way, after listening to YWCA, I'm fully satisfied that this is the right thing to do. And about myself, I'm fairly new to this country, and I lived the first part of my life in an apartment, and also with the assistance from the government for the first 7 months when I arrived in the country. For basically 7 months of my country in the United States, that was fully through the support from the government. So at that time, if this kind of laws are not in place, I would have been sent somewhere else, maybe I don't know where. So I think those things were my lifeline of my own existence in this country. And there are many other members of the community who are living in this. And like when talking about veterans and if you are not even thinking of them, I think that is something we are not doing due diligence, and we're not serving the one who are protecting us every single day. So I'm in full support of this legislation, and thank you, Councilwoman Strickland, for bringing this up.
Do we have any other discussion? May I have a motion to approve this ordinance?
I so move.
Councilwoman Strickland, do we have a second?
Second.
Councilwoman Lawson Rowe, any further discussion?
Just real
Would the
quick,
clerk please call the roll? I'm sorry, Councilmember Baker.
just real quick, for those who don't, when Councilman Packrell was talking about redlining, for those who don't understand redlining, I really highly suggest you watch a Netflix documentary on redlining. It's really good, and it will explain what he's talking about.
Thank you. Do we have any further discussion? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Baker,
Aye.
Councilmember Bryant,
Aye.
Councilmember Strickland,
Aye.
Councilmember Salvati,
Aye.
Councilmember Pecoro,
Aye.
Councilmember Lawson Rowe,
Aye.
and Councilmember Cotner.
Nay.
Madam President, that was 6-1.
This ordinance is approved, 6 affirmative votes and 1 negative vote. Next on the agenda, item 14 is a consent agenda for a third reading. Item 14A through B is part of a consent agenda. These ordinances stand for a third reading and approval. Unless someone wants to remove an item for further discussion, council will move forward with a vote on these ordinances. Would the clerk please read items 14A and B?
Item A, an ordinance creating Chapter 1397 rental property registration to the Reynoldsburg Code of Ordinances to provide for the registration of rental housing located within the boundaries of the city of Reynoldsburg. Item B, an ordinance to amend Chapter 160, Section 160.02 F, Police Department of the Code of Ordinances for the city of Reynoldsburg, Ohio.
May I have a motion to approve these ordinances?
So moved.
Councilmember Salvati made a motion.
Okay, may I have a second?
Second.
Councilmember Strickland.
May I have a, okay, thank you. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
Councilmember Bryant. Councilmember Strickland.
Aye.
Councilmember Salvati. Councilmember Pecoro.
Aye.
Councilmember Lawson Rowe.
Aye.
And Councilmember Cotner.
Aye.
That was 7-0.
These ordinances are affirmative votes and no negative votes. On the agenda, further items that they would like to discuss. Item 16 is upcoming meetings. There is the schedule of the upcoming council, BZBA, and planning commission meetings. Council anticipates continuing with virtual meetings through at least to the end of April. Please note the next council meeting is scheduled for Monday, April 12th, 2021, and it will begin at 6:30 p.m. Council was going into executive session and does not expect to conduct any business following that session. May I have a motion to go into executive session to include Mayor Begany, Attorney Shook, Auditor Sisak, and Clerk Prasher? May I have a motion? Councilmember Baker, may I have a second?
Second. Oh,
Councilmember Pacquiao, Attorney Shook, did you want to say something?
When you make the motion, you need to state the basis for why we're going into executive session.
That is my fault. I forgot to include that. What did I just do? Madam President, it is on the agenda. I can.
Okay.
Attorney Shook, may I read it?
Second.
Okay. This executive
Pursuant, I have it.
Okay, great.
Pursuant to ORC Section 121.22 G3, to conferences with an attorney for the public body concerning disputes involving the public body that are the subject of pending or imminent court action.
Madam President, that was moved by Councilmember Baker with a second by Councilmember Pecoro.
Would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant?
Aye.
Councilmember Strickland?
Aye.
Councilmember Salvati?
Aye.
Councilmember Pecoro?
aye.
Councilmember Lawson Rowe?
Aye.
And Councilmember Cotner.
Aye.
All right, if you'll just give me one moment, please, to make sure we have everybody removed that needs. removed and to stop the live Facebook feed.